I am Katrina Patterson, and joining me on the phone is Christina Crews, the Director of Communications for the Philadelphia and Delaware offices of the American Heart Association. Thank you so much for calling in, Christina. How are you?
I am wonderful. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a beautiful spring day, and I did get a chance to enjoy some sun. I hope you did as well.
Oh, my gosh, absolutely. You know, I've been getting out as much as possible. This is a wonderful time. We have no excuses now to just linger in the house and linger at our desks. It's now time after this horrendous winter that we've had to take advantage of this sunshine.
Absolutely. So would you give us a little bit of your background? You're with the American Heart Association, as I mentioned, Philadelphia and Delaware. Can you tell us exactly what your function or what your role is there?
Yeah, my job is to, it's so weird. I hardly ever get this question. But my role really is to help the organization tell its story and talk about its mission through stories of survivors, through sometimes stories of statistics. It's about keeping our brand in the general public's awareness and keeping it out there in a very positive light, dispelling any myths publicly that there might be about the organization or any misconceptions. Again, just continually staying out in the community, talking to the community about their heart and heart health and recognizing signs and symptoms and what to do in the event that you do recognize these signs and symptoms in yourself and in friends or family, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot of talking, a lot of sharing information, a lot of being out in the community and meeting people who fortunately have survived a heart disease or stroke incident.
Okay. I do know that, as you mentioned, you were mentioning recognizing the signs of heart attack and stroke. Is that one of your main campaigns or your main mission messages?
It is because, we find particularly with women that, a lot of times we're not recognizing the signs and symptoms that we're experiencing. And sometimes we might feel that, we feel a little off on any particular day, and maybe because we're bogged down. As you know, women, we're the heads of our households, whether men want to admit that or not, we are the heads of our households. We keep the house together. We keep it running like a fine oiled machine, and which means that we have to schedule this and that for everyone in our household. We have to work. Sometimes we have two jobs or more. Sometimes we're caring for ailing parents or additional children in our homes for whatever reasons. We're trying to hang out with our friends. We're trying to do so many other things, and again, we just get bogged down where we think that sometimes we're just tired, when in fact fatigue is a symptom of heart disease. And sometimes, we'll go to the doctor, and if we're not really being advocates for ourselves, if we're not really in tune to our bodies, we sometimes miscommunicate what actually is happening, or maybe we'll play it down. Maybe we'll tell the doctor it's been happening in a shorter amount of time than it actually really has been happening, because maybe we're kind of scared a little bit. But early diagnosis for heart disease, as well as for most of the diseases that exist today, is the key. And one of the things that I talk to women about is, again, knowing your body. And because one of the reasons why the Go Red for Women campaign was created was because so many women were dying of heart disease. We would go to the doctor and then oftentimes get sent home with a diagnosis or misdiagnosis of stress. And, I'm not saying that those women are not stressed, but I'm saying that stress, again, is sometimes a symptom of heart disease. So you need to talk to your doctor and really let him know or her know, no, doctor, I really believe that it's more than that. So if you are open with your primary care physician, then that doctor will say to you, okay, yeah, I see that, I've been seeing you for, this amount of time, and yeah, this kind of thing doesn't look, this is not normal. So he'll send you for an echo. He'll send you for an EKG or something like that maybe he wouldn't have ordinarily sent you to had you guys not had a good rapport or had you not been completely honest with him. So again, being in tune to your body and being open about what is happening is the key.
Okay. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there are times when I think we all feel fatigued. We're all tired. You say that and I'll agree with you, that we have so much on our plates. We live in a digital age, and it has afforded or caused us to put more things on our plate, I believe, as opposed to being able to look at something and say, I don't think I can put that on my plate. We're afraid to say no.
Right.
So some of those things give to the stress. But I wonder if many women I wonder if there are women out there who are struggling between how to tell the difference between just being tired from having a full schedule and heart disease. How does one make the determination that it's one thing and not the other, or it's a symptom of heart disease? And again, I'm glad you pointed out that it's important to be open and honest with your primary care physician, because they may be able to give you some insight to say, no, that doesn't sound right.
Right, right. Well, that's the thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just in answering your question, that's the thing. They can't tell the difference. So that is why it's so important for you to know your body. You know when you're off. You know it. There might be a little something inside that tells you, yeah, I'm tired, but I've never been this tired. Or yeah, I'm stressed, but I've never been this stressed. And isn't it better to err on the side of caution and go in to see your doctor, than to get some kind of, adverse diagnosis months down the line? You have to really be on top of your health and be on top of your heart health. We get one chance in this world, and we have doctors and who are willing to help us, but we just have to let them know exactly what is going on.
Right. I had the very fortunate experience of having some time with Ms. Rosetta Carrington-Lew,
right.
Who, when you talk about misdiagnosis or not paying attention to the warning signs, during our conversation she mentioned so many different occasions where the warning signs were there, and she did not necessarily, she could not readily identify them as a heart disease diagnosis. And even when she was told that she had heart disease, it still didn't click, right away. So I wonder sometimes if maybe we're too embarrassed. I remember having an experience where I had some chest pains. This is going back several years. Mm-hmm. I had some chest pains, and I sat at work for maybe a half hour or so before I decided that I could not. I wasn't crunched down on my chair or anything. It was just like a light, it would be a sharp pain, and I thought it was gas because I had something weird to eat or something that didn't agree with me. And when I finally arrived at the emergency room, the doctor said, "So you sat at work for how long before you decided to leave?"
Right.
And I had to be. His very next question was, "Did you wake up feeling that way, or did it happen while you were at work?" So he was trying to ascertain how long I had been feeling that way. And the honest truth was, I had started feeling that way hours after I got up in the morning. I get up very early in the morning, sometimes 5 or 6, and I started feeling that way about 7 or 8, and then I got to work around 12 and ended up leaving at 1:30. And he said, "I would prefer that you come into the emergency room for nothing than to wait hours, days, weeks, months, or years, and you find out the hard way that you should have come in."
That is so true. And with Rosetta, with her, she had something called bacterial endocarditis, something, because a virus had attacked her heart, which, again, could happen to any one of us. But her symptoms could have been treated with antibiotics, and because she did not catch it in time, she wound up having to have open heart surgery.
Right.
It's a big difference between taking antibiotics orally and and having major surgery.
Yes. Yes. Now, is this? I know a lot of people who get weary of all of the, I guess, the hype, for lack of a better word, surrounding health issues. Every other day, this is good for us, and then it's bad for us.
Oh,
This
right.
is bad for us, and then it's okay. So it's a little confusing to determine what's good, what's bad, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. Before I am going to ask you if you could go over some signs and symptoms of heart attack and stroke. But I'd also like for you to talk a little bit more about what women can do, or what a person can do in general, to ensure good heart health.
Wow. Well, you know what? I think one of the most basic things that we all know about that we just refuse to undertake is it's always, calories in versus calories out, meaning what you're putting in your mouth and how much energy are you expending. That is something that people we're busy. We are busy. We're doing so many things in one day and trying to find time to sleep. Then we wake up and we have to do everything all over again. So people are trying to find time to exercise, and oftentimes that is what gets, put by the wayside. But we're eating poorly. We're keeping fast food restaurants in business. And at the American Heart Association, of course, I am not an MD, but we all know one of the things that we talk about here at the Heart Association is unless your doctor tells you don't eat it, we say everything in moderation. So we're not saying cut anything out, but we're saying you can, maybe have something that's, not, a fruit or vegetable, but you don't have to eat it all in one sitting. It's not that ice cream is the enemy, but a gallon of ice cream while you're watching, your hour-long program, that's just not a good way to live, and that is something that does not ensure good heart health. We have to be, like I said, soldiers for our own health, and we know what we're doing is wrong. We all know that smoking is wrong. We're taught that at such an early age, but people smoke for whatever reasons. And what some don't know is, smoking, of course, predisposes you to heart disease and stroke. And if you quit smoking today, for anyone who is listening who is a smoker, you cut your risk of heart disease in half immediately. If you stop smoking today, and I know that a lot of times it's harder, easier said than done, but think of the end result. The end result is life, and a life worth living, and a quality of life. You don't want to get winded walking up one flight of stairs. But sometimes, again, we have these addictions. We have addictions maybe to certain foods, or we just eat so much of the wrong things and not enough of the right things, and then we're not exercising, and now our weight is up, our cholesterol is up, our blood pressure is up, and all of these things predispose you to heart disease and stroke.
I'm glad you mentioned the importance of stopping the smoking habit. But one thing I would like to ask if you could just speak on for a moment. I know people who have struggled with smoking for years, off and on. And one of those struggles is that even when they do stop smoking, they tend to eat more. So my statement would be that it's important, obviously, to be working with your doctor if you do smoke and you decide today that you are going to stop smoking, not only for heart health, but for your lung health and for your overall health as well. But to work with your doctor on creating a plan, a nutrition plan, so that you don't begin to overeat, and more importantly, overeat the wrong types of foods, or those foods that are not necessarily heart-friendly, if you will.
Right.
Would you like to speak to that at all?
Well, yes, that's one of the things I say. One of the important things that I think people don't understand, and sometimes we don't have any control over, it just depends on if we're moving around a lot. But when you have a doctor that you've had, maybe since you were a teenager or maybe when you were in college, you have that same primary care physician who knows you, knows your body. You guys have a great rapport. That is somebody that, again, you tend to be more open with as opposed to going to a hospital and maybe having a new doctor every 2 to 3 years. When you're just like, wow, I just discussed all of this with someone, 2 years ago, and I have to go all over again, and you don't feel as comfortable, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good to find a doctor or a nurse that you want to have around. I found that just makes things a lot easier because they know you. They know, your physical strengths and weaknesses, and even some of your mental strengths and weaknesses because you've spoken over the years, and they know your charts. They know what you're doing. When you come in, they might see that your weight is up. They might say, "Oh, you're smoking again, aren't you?" They can tell because they know you. And when you work with someone that you have a good rapport with, and I'm sorry, not work with someone, but when you go to a doctor and you have a good rapport with that doctor, that just makes things a lot easier. You feel like you have someone on your side, someone who knows your struggle. And then even when it can't be someone that you've had a long-term relationship with, if you find a doctor, there's no harm and there's nothing to say that you have to keep the same doctor that you have. Find someone that you're comfortable with, someone that has a good bedside manner that you feel comfortable sharing things with, somebody who you don't feel like is rushing you out the door because they have to get to the next person. That's so important that you're comfortable with your primary care physician or with your nurse, because that is going to be a win-win for you all the way around, because they're going to ask you questions and you're going to decide, am I going to answer this truthfully or am I just going to keep this to myself? And I think sometimes when you keep things to yourself, it causes a little bit of denial. And then, again, your heart suffers, because you don't have that guidance. And then sometimes you might seek guidance from a friend or a parent, and they don't have the answers like a doctor or a nurse would have. So you need to, there's nothing wrong with Dr. Mom. Of course, we all love Dr. Mom, being a parent, right. We have to wear that, we have to put some spit on boo-boos, et cetera, but, we can't, we have limitations to what we can do. These doctors go to school to help us feel better and help us essentially prolong our lives and help us to have a good quality of life, which is so very important. I think people underestimate, the quality of life because you get to a stage in your life where you feel like you're invincible. You're not really thinking 10, 20, 30 years down the line, but you don't want to be 60 years old and not be able to walk up a flight of steps. You don't want to get to that point. So, again, once you're comfortable with that person, no matter if it's somebody you've been seeing for a while or if it's just a new doctor that you have a good rapport with, I feel like, these kind of healthy floodgates will open, and they can help you along your journey and suggest things and maybe even suggest support groups and things of that nature. But it starts with your doctor.
Okay. Now, very quickly, we only have a few minutes left. Would you be able to cover for us, first of all, just a few, maybe a bullet list of signs, warning signs and symptoms of heart attack and stroke?
Oh, absolutely. I will give you the major symptoms of heart disease and stroke, and I want to let people know that we are the American Heart and the American Stroke Association, because the same things that predispose you to heart disease predispose you to stroke. It's just that stroke is a brain attack. So some of the classic signs and symptoms, let's say, for instance, women present differently than men, but what people think about is that kind of crushing, I've heard people describe it as almost like an elephant sitting on their chest. And that, of course, is a major sign of a heart attack or some form of heart disease. But in addition, and women can get that as well, but in addition to that, there may be some dizziness, some nausea, cold sweats. Women can have a pain in their jaw or in their back, their lower back, and you might think maybe you pulled a muscle, but that's not necessarily the case. There's shortness of breath. Those are the major signs that I mentioned. In addition to that, crushing pain in your chest that I hear heart attack survivors talk about.
Okay. And I do know that there is an event coming up. It is a Go Red for Women event.
Absolutely. This event here is specifically geared toward women. This is an 11-year-old campaign, and thanks to Go Red for Women, in the span of 11 years, 330 fewer women are dying per day, and that is a wonderful, wonderful number because. But the stats are that 1 in 3 will die of heart disease. Heart disease is the number one killer of Americans and the number one killer of women. And you'll hear more about this at our 11th annual Go Red for Women Luncheon and Health Expo on Friday, May 9th at the Philadelphia Downtown Marriott. For more information on that event, and it's a wonderful event where you'll hear the tales of survival and you'll learn about how to be vigilant about your own health and the benefits of it. For more information, you can go to heart.org/Philadelphia Goes Red.
Very nice. Well, I do thank you once again for calling in and giving us all of this information. Once again, the website is heart.org for the American Heart Association. This is Christina Crews, who has been kind enough to give us her time. Is there anything else that you would like to leave for our listening audience? Any last messages?
I would like to say know your numbers. Go to the doctor, get your physical, know your numbers, what your LDL and your HDL are in terms of your cholesterol. You want to know your BMI, your triglycerides, your blood pressure. Stay on top of those things. Those things will help you know what you have to do to modify your diet and up your exercise. And if you can get at least 30 minutes a day of exercise in, you don't have to join a gym. You can walk. You can wash your own car, for instance. You can, vacuum and do things around the house. But something rigorous for at least 30 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to, a heart-healthy you.
Wonderful advice and a wonderful conversation, as always, with you, Christina.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
It's about that time. It's about that time. It's about that time.